Hello neighbors, Christopher Henry here. Welcome back to the Noya Mountain Music channel, and today we're going to be looking at a deep dive, at least a medium dive into Jam and Beyond 145. Okay, so most of the common traditional bluegrass tunes and songs, they're just using the 1, 4, and 5 chords. So if you're in G, that's G, C, and D. If you don't know about the numbers, this isn't going to get into that. This might be a little bit, advanced beginner or lower intermediate. People think about that kind of stuff different ways. So what we're trying to do is make some headway into understanding the chords beyond 1, 4, and 5. So we're talking about, for instance, the 6 minor, the harmonic minor. We're talking about, the 2 chord. We're talking about the 3. So we're going to use a few classic songs which are a little bit beyond just the simplest chords in the world, but do come up in jams, and they can teach us a lot. So this is all getting us ready for this workshop that we're going to be doing. So the Jam and Deep Dive Beyond 145 workshop is going to be on February 25th, and there are only just a few slots left, and this is the year of 2024. So if you're looking at this video in the future, the workshop has already happened. But for those who are checking it out in the early weeks of February, there are a couple slots left still. Okay, so we're going to be looking at Redwood Hill, which is a really cool song, nice chord progression, and it's by the Country Gentleman. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to the chorus, which is basically what gets played during the break. The chorus goes actually twice as long as the break usually goes, and so the break usually gets played like the back half of the chorus, where it goes to the 2 and then comes back to the 4 and then back to the 1. All right, and we are in the key of A. All right, this is the Country Gentleman, and let's check it out here, and I'll kind of do the ones and I'll call some of the chords out as we're going here. So the whole idea is that in order for us to have a chance at jamming anything, we got to know what the chords are. I mean, you could just kind of play some stuff and noodle along and hope it's going to be right, and if you had a really good ear for the melody, you could make that work. You don't necessarily need to know what the chords are if you know how to play the melody, okay? But a lot of times it's easier to play through the chords than it is to find the exact melody. All right, so if you catch my drift, then let's go ahead and proceed, and even if you don't catch the drift, let's go ahead and proceed, and maybe we'll be catching more of the drift as we go along. So let's listen to the Country Gentleman sing this chorus, and I'll call out some chords. Starts in the 1 chord in a minute. Right here. 1, 1, 1, 1, 8. That's the 5. Here's the 6 minor. There is the 3. Here's the 4. Here's the 1. And then on the chorus, it holds the 2 to the 5. And here's what the break plays. 1, 1, 1, 1, 5, 5, 5, 5, 6 minor right there. Then your 3. And then it goes 4, back to 1. We'll cover all this all again. It goes 2, 2, 4, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so that's a lot. That's a little bit more than just the old Blue Ridge Cabin Home going 1, 4, and 5. Okay, so let's break it down just a little bit. Okay, so it starts off in the 1. That's A. All right, and it goes to the 5. That's E. All right. So then after that, it goes to the harmonic minor of A, which is the chord that has the most in common with A. And in this case, it is F sharp minor. Okay. So you can also think about the 6 minor as the Foggy Mountain breakdown chord. It's the off chord to Foggy Mountain breakdown. Foggy Mountain breakdown is usually in G. That's that chord. That's the harmonic minor. So if we're going to play Foggy Mountain breakdown in A, it would go from A to F sharp minor. You can find it by walking down the scale. If that's your 1, and you walk that down 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. Technically, that would be walking down like from your 1 or the 8. 1, and then your 7, and then your 6, and that's the 6 minor there. Okay, so that's our F sharp minor. That's our 3rd chord. So it goes 1, then to the 5, then to the 6 minor. Sounds sounds like country roads so far, doesn't it? Okay, but here's where it changes, and then it goes to the 3 major chord. All right, so the 3 major chord, and we're just learning to kind of identify these by the way they sound, a little bit at a time. The 3 major chord might be familiar to you from the old home place. It's been 10 long years since I left my home. That's that sound. So it doesn't go from the 1 to the 3 in Redwood Hill, but it goes from the 6 minor. So we're already in that Foggy Mountain breakdown chord. And it goes to the old home place chord, which is the 3. And it pushes that up 1/2 step into the 4 chord, which is D. Okay, let's go over those chords again. So we got 1 to the 5, then up to the 6 minor, over to the 3, and then up to the 4, and then it comes back to 1. And then on the chorus, it's going to hold out the 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 5, then back to the 1. The whole thing repeats, except instead of holding that 2 out, it just holds it for a couple beats at the end of the break. Okay, so we have to know what the chords are to be able to do this little simple arpeggio thing that we're going to do for most of these songs. But before we do, please like and subscribe. And go ahead and hit that little bell there for the notifications, and you'll get all the good stuff from Noya Mountain Music. Thank you. And please consider becoming a patron on patreon.com/Noya Mountain Music. All right, so this isn't exactly Monroe style improvising, but it's kind of like training wheels heading in that direction. So if you're not familiar with the simple arpeggio improv lick, put a little link to the video in here. You can check that out. It sounds like this. All right, real simple lick. You can play this through the whole tune. It might not be like the most amazing thing to play in the world, but it'll get you through. If you can't think of anything else to play, you can always play through the chordal arpeggio. You have to know that, but luckily for us, it's where the chord is. So anytime you move a chord, you have this stuff right underneath your fingers. Sometimes you have to modulate a little bit, depending on if you're in a major or a minor chord, but it's still the same first finger pressing that note down. Okay, so let me give you an example of how this works, okay? So we're going to start in the 1, 1, then it goes to the 5, then it goes to the 6 minor, then it goes to the 3 major, then it goes to the 4, and back to the 1, and up to the 2, and 4, back to 1. So you can see that through most of those chords, except for the last 2, they're all 4 beat bars. So you got 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3, except for these 2. 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3. So those bars split. And it goes from the 2 to the 4. The 2 beats. 2 beats on the 2, 2 beats on the 4, and then back to the 1. Okay? So you can also reverse this and get a little bit more improv, creative, decision-making flow going. So we're going from the bottom to the top, tonally speaking. This is low note, this is the high note. 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4. And you can also go from the top to the bottom. 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4. And those of you familiar with the simple arpeggio improv lick, I already know that. You can switch and swap. So you can do bottom to the top in 1, top to the bottom in 5. Bottom to top in 6 minor, top to the bottom in the 3 minor, for instance. And here's a choice you can make. You can just come up 1/2 step to do the D arpeggio high, or come down low. You can do it from the top to the bottom, or the bottom to the top, either high or low. And then come back. And then here's where you do your little split bar. So you can, again, you have some options here. You can start from the bottom, play the bottom both times. You can start from the top, play the top both times. Or you play the top and the bottom. Or the bottom and the top. I might like that one the best. Okay, this is before we're getting into the Monroe devices. So you could easily pop these Monroe devices in there if you know them, especially over the major chords where the slidey lick works so well. So that was a little combination of the slidey lick and the staggered arpeggio. Okay, so doing the slidey lick over the major chords isn't quite as easy, but you can still do it. So if you're in F sharp minor, all I have to do is push your major third, which you usually slide into with your first finger, back 1 fret, so sliding into the minor third. Okay, so major slidey in 1 over the A, major slidey in D, E over the 5, and then minor slidey, over the 6 minor in F sharp. Let's try that. And then from here, you can keep doing slidey. You can slide through the whole thing. Okay, that's one way you can get through the whole thing with just the one lick. Could you switch and swap with your simple arpeggio lick? You sure could. All right, what about staggered arpeggios through the whole chord form? All right, starting in A. This might be a little bit advanced, but you can check out the staggered arpeggios video and learn how to do this a little bit. Okay, so starting from the bottom in A. All right, so this is an example of how you can do this through the whole tune, as long as what? As long as you know the chord form. If you don't know the chord form, it'll be impossible to do this. Well, nearly impossible, unless you're some kind of like very unusual savant with it. Okay, so if you're just kind of a beginner or an intermediate level player, all these chords might be quite overwhelming. We're just trying to wrap our heads around like G, C, and D. And all of a sudden it's A and E and F sharp and the 3 major, is it 3 major or 3 minor? What is that anyway? Is it a C sharp? That's a weird chord. And then the D, and then the half split bar, and all it gets confusing, you know. But you got to kind of try to do it, you know. And a lot of times a song like this, if it's like a beginner jam, let's do Redwood Hill. Nope, too chordy, too difficult for a beginner jam. But at, you know, upper intermediate jams, or maybe it'd be kind of a little stretchy to do it at a lower intermediate jam, or you know, just regular, just jams of all levels, especially advanced jams, this tune would fly for sure. But they might give you a quick rundown. Okay, it goes from the 1 to 5, the 6 minor to the 3 major, and then 4, 1, 2, 4. Okay, that's a lot to remember. But even if you can get the first few, it's going to help you. So learning to identify how to get from the 5 to the 6 minor is a really helpful thing to do. All right, so you're in A to the 5 to the 6 minor. All right, to be able to find that chord, you can voice it like this, or you can voice it with your ring finger on the F sharp note. Just like a regular 3-finger chop chord, except pulling your major third down to the minor. Major, minor. It's kind of easy to hit that from the 5, from E, because you just slide, you know, up 2 frets with your ring finger and your middle finger. You slide 1 fret up with your first finger to the 7th fret of the D. You can just do stuff like that to practice going from the 5 to the 6 minor. And then it's kind of a little bit easy to get to the 3 major, because you're just taking your ring finger and basically the whole chord form downstairs, like down 1 set of strings. And then you just got to bring your first finger up to make it a major rather than a minor. going from your 6 minor to your 3 major. You could also find another 3 major, which would be like if you're playing Old Home Place in A, to go to the C sharp chord. 10 long years. But here we're going from the 6 minor, which is your foggy mountain breakdown chord, to your 3 major. So you come from this F sharp minor position down here to your C sharp regular 3-finger shape, chop shape, and then just bump that up 1 for your regular D chord. Back to your 1 chord, and then your 2 chord, and usually you go like to your 5 chord after your 2 chord. But here we're going from the 2 chord to the 4 chord, which is a little bit unusual, which is kind of cool though. Kind of gives it that sound, which doesn't like resolve it to the 5 like our ears used to usually hear it. Okay, so basically to review, what have we got? You got to learn how to do the chords first, you know, and then you got to learn how to do the simple arpeggio. And the cool thing about the simple arpeggio is that you can put a Monroe stylized staggered texture through it. It makes it sound even cooler in a way. So we just learned it like this. But if you let your 16th notes go and put your upstrokes in there, leading with the upstroke on each new note, instead of going 1 and a 2 and 3, the 2 and 3, your 8th notes would be downstrokes there. If you let your upstroke lead, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, then you could end with 8th notes, 3 and 4 and, or keep your staggered upstrokes going, 3 E and a 4 E and, so you're playing each new note with an upstroke first, which is a great Monroe style texture. When we do our staggered arpeggios, usually we just go right through the chord, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E. Here we're playing 3/16 notes, then moving, which is a great rhythm. You can kind of hear me start to drop that last 16th note of each of those bars to the open string. It's kind of subtle, but you're dropping that last 16th note to give that little texture, and also to give you time to move. You might not even hear me doing it. So all that to say, you can kind of dress this simple arpeggio lick up to have more of a Monroe stylized staggeredized texture. You can also do it from the other way. To keep your right hand rolling, okay? So that is a little primer on the old Redwood Hill. That's a chordy song. We're going to be covering that in the workshop, and we could probably do a whole workshop just on that one song. But we're going to be doing some others, and I might aim to put some of the other, chords, chordy songs up here this week. We're going to be doing like Sweet Georgia Brown, maybe a little. What's that John Harper song about the suitcase behind the door? It's really a backpack behind a couch, and it's gentle on my mind. And then we're also thinking about like Salty Dog, which is a good one that kind of goes around the horn. 1 1 1 6 6 and 2 chords and 5. So 1 to 6 2 5. Very common chord progression beyond the 1 4 5. Also, I know what it means to be lonesome. I know what I may do it all the time. That's kind of the same deal. And then there was another one that we're going to look. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was Alabama Jubilee. It's a good instrumental that kind of gets around a little bit. Okay, so this is a little primer on Redwood Hill, and that's enough to be chewing on, especially for beginner folks, lower intermediate level folks. I hope it's helping. And if you like the content here, the Noya Mountain Music Patreon page helps support this content. That's basically the community that is helping all this content get out. So if you like the content, it can be really helpful to, like you hear about all the time, like the video, subscribe, share the video. And if you really want to like and support the channel, you can become a patron with patreon.com/Noya Mountain Music. And thank you very much to all the folks who have joined us in the Patreon community with Noya Mountain Music. And so that's all for now, and we'll look forward to seeing you all on the next one.